Well, Jack, preparations back here, back in the south, preparations ahead of a very tricky game.
Yes, no, it's always nice. It's almost like a home here. So the people look after us really well. Yeah, not that they didn't look after us in the other places, but it's almost like a little bit of a home for us. Yeah, and the preparations are good, and like you rightly say, it's going to be a big game for us. And possibly it can be a slippery game if you don't give Tonga all the respect they need and deserve.
What's your approach? I mean, it's one of the biggest packs in the competition. They cannot match Scotland up to a point. Up front, they can score tries, they can run, they're dangerous.
Yeah, I think if you look at the makeup of their squad, I think 20 of the 33 players in their squad were brought up in Australia and in New Zealand through those rugby schooling systems, if I can put it like that. And multiple of their squad members have played international rugby for either Australia or New Zealand in the past. So they know what international rugby is about, they know what high performance environment is about. And some of them are playing for the Crusaders, for Toulouse, so they play club rugby at a high level. So they're a proper team, and I think if you look at the team we selected, there's 13 players that have played in the test match against Ireland, so we give them a lot of respect.
Correct me if I'm mistaken, but obviously a defeat always hurts, but I wouldn't think you left the game against Ireland too much with a big worry, because you could have won it easily. I'm not just talking about the kickers, I'm talking in general. You had tries, situations clear, he could have easily won that game.
Yeah, I think that's probably the bad thing of a loss, is you lose a little bit of momentum. So that's why it's so important that we have a good performance this weekend against Tonga. Firstly, to get out of our pool and maybe give us a chance to go into a quarter-final or the knockout stages of this competition, but then also to build momentum if we do go further, that we have nice momentum going into the knockout stages. So yeah, and yeah, I said it after the game against Ireland. Ireland were better than us on the night, and I think we did butcher a couple of tries in the game, as they also were within 0 to 2 meters from our try line once or twice. But I think we were there probably 4 times, and we butchered, unfortunately, all 4 of those opportunities.
What Handrè brings into this team now?
Handrè Esterhuizen.
Pollard.
Oh, Handrè. Yeah, I think Handrè obviously is a quality player, but I think we must stay in the reality. Handrè hasn't played for the Springboks in 13 months. And in those 13 months there were 16 test matches where Amani Libbok or Damian Willemse had to step up as the number 10 for South Africa. And in those 16 test matches, the 2 of them have guided us to a 75% win record. We only lost 4 test matches with them, and 2 was against Ireland, 1 was against New Zealand in Auckland, and the other one was against France here in Marseille, the end of last year with a red card. So the 2 guys that stood in, I won't say they stood in, the two guys that took over that responsibility, I thought they did it really well. And then Handrè, he hasn't played for us in 13 test matches, in 13 months. And then he hasn't played top international rugby or top level club rugby in 19 weeks. He only played 30 minutes now in 19 weeks. So I think the reality is Handrè is a quality player. He knows what international rugby is about. But I think it will also take him some time to get back into the swing of things. But I think his experience and him having been here before, winning a World Cup before, beat the British and Irish Lions, have won a rugby championship, I think it will help him to get to the top of his game quicker than somebody that hasn't been here before.
Jack, something away from the current World Cup is, if I ask you for a memory, your first memory, little Jack watching TV, maybe, I don't know, the first Rugby World Cup memory, what left you a bigger mark, and what was special for you, and why?
Probably the first World Cup, Rugby World Cup that I've watched was the '95 World Cup in South Africa, and it was the first game against Australia. and I will always remember the Peter Hendricks try where he lifted his hand against Australia and he scored that try. So that's probably that test matches will be one of the first World Rugby test matches that I would remember.
You chose a very special World Cup for South Africa in many ways, no?
Yes, many ways. It was our first, how can I say, introduction back into there's been 2 prior World Cups to that, but we weren't allowed for various reasons to participate in those World Cups. So it was the first World Cup that we could participate in. And that's why it was such a special one in South Africa, and everything that went with this. Nelson Mandela, we winning it, Francois Pienaar, the whole unifying the country. So it was a very special World Cup.
And where were you, and how old were you? Where were you watching that?
I was at university, so I was probably a couple of beers strong when I watched the games. I was it was in 1995, I was in my 3rd year studying for physiotherapy.
Listening to Rodriguez?
Yes, listening to Rodriguez. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.